I'm going to call the meeting of the Price County Opioid Ad-Hoc Committee meeting. And we'll have roll call by.
Good afternoon. Thank you.
Go for it.
Jojo Baratka.
Here.
Kayla Borgen. Mike Borgen. On his way.
Okay.
Megan Enders. I believe she's excused. Sherry Graham. Also excused. But Jessica Folstad is remote.
Here.
Thank you. Rachel Hoffman, are you online? I don't see her.
You didn't hear from her though, huh?
I did not.
Okay.
Paula Hodak.
Here.
Dina King will be calling in at 12:25 today to talk. Lori McEwen is also excused. Marvin Nevlier, remote.
I'm here.
Okay.
Thank you. Tiffany Polachek.
Here.
Blaine Peterson.
Here.
Danielle Peterson.
Here.
Sarah Reese Soha.
Here.
Chana Remarkowitz.
Here.
And Nick Trimner. Thank you.
Okay. Welcome everyone. Get our meeting going here. We have the minutes from the June 10th meeting. What is your privilege on that? Any one of you can make you're part of the committee.
I motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, motion's been made
I will second.
and a seconded from Baratka and Polachek. Any questions? Any discussion? Okay. Hearing and seeing none, I'm going to call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, motion's carried. Minutes are approved. So we have with us, if you'll remember from our last meeting, we had Robert Knack with his House of Hope. And so we did invite him back, but also I had a call from Mr. Mark Diston, who is also part of his House of Hope. And he had wanted to have something to say. He was not available at the time of our last meeting. So I have given them some chances to talk here. Whomever is going to start first. Okay, welcome here.
Mark Diston, I know some of you, not all of you, but thank you for the opportunity to be here. This button.
The one down at the bottom turns it green. It says way down.
Okay, I think we're on, correct?
There you
Very
are.
good.
And we use that mostly because we have people
No,
online.
I understand, yeah.
Thank you.
The world of Zoom, yes.
Yes.
Thanks for the opportunity to be here again. I serve on the board of directors for his House of Hope. And Robert Knack, of course, is our executive director. And the ministry, the mission is about almost 2 years old. And we've had some pretty good successes under our belts. And we're in the process of hopefully helping a lot of other men escape the addiction process. And so our presentation today, and I think I gave everybody, Mike, you haven't got one. May I get one to you here? There you go. But briefly, what we wanted to at least explain in a very short period of time is you can read on the front page, as a residential recovery program, his House of Hope offers a stair-step process to help men transition back into everyday life as productive citizens. And that resonates with me in that I've known some of these guys who have gone through the program. I know some others who are just starting to come through the program. And when I see the transition that they can achieve from start to finish, whether it's the 9-month program or the 18-month program, it's almost astonishing when you look at that. And so what we're trying to do as an organization in the community here is to grow the ministry, the mission that we have, so that we can help other men. And down the road, long term, the county certainly needs the same type of program for women, which we have not got. But that's of course on the drawing board down the road. So having said that, we look at ourselves as being considerably upstream, I'd call it, from a lot of your specific areas of interest, whether it's law enforcement or school districts, or perhaps even the healthcare system in general. And so what everybody, of course, has his own particular area of interest that you're represented with here. But by working closely, I think, with our particular organization, we can help you all achieve the objectives that you're trying to do with the opioid problem. And when I say opioid, of course, it's kind of a loose term these days because there are other things that are very addictive that don't fall into the true opioid category, but nonetheless addictive products. And fentanyl, of course, is not just in our little community here. Unfortunately, these days, it truly is a nationwide problem. But again, as far as our being upstream, we would hope that we can impact you in a positive way so that, again, whether it's law enforcement, you see a reduced rate of recidivism. That would be, I think, near and dear to a lot of people's hearts. And the recidivistic behavior that exists with, and again, this is nationwide, we're a microcosm of the whole problem. But we see that is something that we can help you in your particular area of interest. The things that we are looking at, perhaps if we are fortunate enough to receive any grant monies from this, and as I understand it, these were class action lawsuits. Is that correct? With the pharmaceutical industry? Correct. That resulted in this. Okay. Just a quick segue. In my career working with orthopedic surgeons for 45 years, in other places around the country, even around the world, but especially in the US, 20 and 25 years ago, I saw the overprescription. I witnessed it. You could see it at trade shows and those kinds of things. Products like Vioxx and Celebrex and some of those that people are somewhat familiar with were really, really being overprescribed, but the orthopedic community was being encouraged to do that because not that they wanted to create a problem, but it was a pain relief for patients that underwent especially knee and hip replacements. So it was definitely a problem that was emerging. And of course, now we see the results of a lot of that overprescription. And so it resulted in these funds being available. If we're to be fortunate enough to receive any of these grant monies, there are three areas that we look at from our vantage point and our physical property down there that would really, really impact us in a very, very good way, help us to be better at what we do. One of them is a very, very robust security system, which we've got a kind of a junior varsity version of that right now, and it's okay, but it's not good long term. We would love to be able to install something that would be really, really professional and very robust. That's one thing. Another one is I noticed in a lot of your committee's comments and the documents that I received, being able to provide transportation for individuals to get to, whether it's a behavioral health appointment, perhaps, or a drug rehab program, those kinds of things. We could certainly use another vehicle of some type. And the third one I kind of want to highlight here, we call it the Genesis process. And it's something that is it's a bona fide curriculum that is nationwide. It's been around for, Robert, 15, 20 years at least. And it's for a lot of different programs around the country dealing with these kinds of recovery issues. And if you flip over to the back side of the document that I handed out there, just briefly what this Genesis process consists of, and I underscored certain things, words as well as phrases. You can kind of scroll down there and you see that it provides a lot of tools and a lot of programs that can help in these fellows going through a recovery process. And some of the metrics, because it's, stats are kind of okay, but unless you have true metrics that go with them, proof sources where it's a bona fide program that results in, X leads to Y. That's what is really, really, I did some exploration on it this week. And for example, the Phoenix Rescue Mission down there, that's the one I highlighted. You look at their retention rate before this program and after. That's considerable. That's measurable. That is impactful. And so for that community. And there are some others here briefly. I looked at them. Rockford, Illinois, for example, they've got a recovery rate as a result of this program of 60% and retention of 75%. Another one in Salt Lake, recovery rate of 80% as a consequence of adopting this program. And another one that kind of blew me away. I used to travel a lot, and I had some colleagues who live in Santa Barbara. And if you've ever been to Santa Barbara, it's not Los Angeles and it's not San Francisco. It's a pretty nice area of the Central Coast. And the last time I was there was probably, I think, 5 years ago. And I was stunned at the number of homeless people in Santa Barbara, which is pretty unique. And they have a recovery program there now that has been started. And this particular one boasts a recovery rate of 90% and a retention of 60%. So again, that's measurable. So what we're looking at, and Robert has just started to explore this a little bit, And we haven't fully implemented yet because it does cost some funds. But we're convinced now that if we were to explore this much further and go ahead and adopt the program, we could impact our retention rate and our recovery rates significantly. So that, again, their recidivistic behavior is curbed, and fewer people are going to need to be incarcerated. And even for those who represent school districts, having been a sub for about 1.5 years in our school district here, I noticed that I got on pretty good authority that there were 2 or 3 families that where kids were coming from homes where 1 or 2 parents were users. And that's kind of frightening when you look at it that way. And especially if it drifts down into the elementary ages, that's not good. So we're hoping that if we were to receive some of these funds, they would be put to very good use. And we want to become a very, very strong part of the community so we can work very interactively with different organizations and certainly with the county and with this particular committee. So Robert, you got one more thing to say about the Genesis process? He just started using it a little bit as kind of an introductory, and you've got something to say about that.
Yeah, so the Genesis process, there's many different layers to this. There's the one-on-one curriculum that's been very important to the guys there. That's really pulling back the layers to see where they've had trauma in the past, and then like kind of fixing that and walking them through how to fix that. It's been very helpful just with the curriculum side, but Genesis process as a program entity, they come in and they tell you where your holes are in your program. It's like a big brother to the program. Of many different programs, they have a lot of different statistics in different areas. But I just want to make sure that we're doing what is correct for these guys that are in our program, and just going through the little bit of training, the on-demand training that they have online, that is also accredited for like 31 CEUs. But it's to show that we're not just alone, that there's a big umbrella over us that's teaching us how to do things. Someone that's been there, that's been in a lot of different programs before, and going through policies, procedures, curriculum itself. How do you handle certain things when certain things arise, rule regulation, and also relapse, because that's going to happen in this type of ministry or program. So I've just been blown away by what I've learned so far in the training that I have gone through with these guys, and they're actually doing a huge work in our country. So I'm all for them. And I've talked to Chris Headland. He's the program director at Hope Gospel in Eau Claire, that's been around for about 25, 26 years. And they said after adopting this program, just with the little bit of time they've adopted it, they saw an 18% increase in success rating. And the way they deem success is not just graduation of the program. Anyone can live for a month in a house, right? But the way that we deem success and they deem success at Hope Gospel is that after a year that they're still sober, they're not missing probation meetings. If they're on probation, they're not going back to jail, and they're still connected with their support group that they founded. So 18% is pretty impressive to me, especially in Wisconsin alone. So that's about all I got for you. And I don't know if Mark's got more to say.
Thank you very much for your attention.
Well, I was just going to see if the committee had any questions for the guys at all.
Or is anybody from over there healthcare providers, or is there somebody here from Marshfield or Spirates? They're represented on the ad hoc committee.
They're representing. She'll be on at 12:25.
Okay.
Right.
Again, Robert has real briefly, he relayed to me, I think about 2 weeks ago, he got a phone call from Park Falls from the ER, and just tell that briefly too.
Yeah, well, because there's nowhere to bring people that are home.
Microphone, please.
There's no place in the area to bring people if they're homeless or if they're struggling with addiction. And that's the struggle with His House of Hope, is that we're not a homeless shelter, we're a program. So there has to be an interview application, and it takes a little bit of time. So that's something that we should be looking for later in the area that's on the horizon as well. But they've reached out to me. By the time I got back to him, the gentleman was gone, due to the fact of he didn't really want to receive help, I don't believe. But there's a lot of detoxing that goes on. And then they go detox for about 3 days at Tamarack Shack or longer, depending on the situation. But then after that, they're found with, they think they're better for a little bit, and they might be good for a week, but usually they fall back into the addiction or the pattern. So that's why I think like his House of Hope and other programs in the area, they are making a change and they're doing wonderful things. So I'd love your support, and however I can help you guys, I'd like to hear anything about that as well.
Okay, thank you. Were there any questions from the committee? No? All right, well, thank you. We will be discussing.
One question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go
Did
ahead.
you have a budget in mind or how much this would cost and what you're asking?
Yeah,
for?
so the rough estimate for everything would be about $50,000. And that's a rough estimate. We didn't put in like a dollar amount to it. A new vehicle that can transport up to 8 gentlemen is a little bit more expensive than a normal like sedan. The Genesis process itself, the consulting term is about $10,000 a year, but that lasts for 3 years. They do on-site training. They do onboarding with any volunteer staff. And then they go through all the programming rules and stuff, and they do a very intensive, it's called a facelift to any program. And then the security system I deem to be 10,000 because I'd like to have doors with key cards and stuff. So I know personally every time someone's coming in or out of the program so that I can keep more, accountability to these gentlemen that are seeking help, because especially with you two sitting here, addiction and manipulation go hand in hand. So the more facts that I can have to help these gentlemen, the better. And that's where the security system goes into play.
Okay. Any others? Thank you so much. Thank you. All right, so let's move on to Office of Administration updates. Nick?
Not much there. We continue to hear from the state that, another group, not necessarily settled, but would pay their year or ahead. So we got, $4,000 check the other day, and we got a $8,000 check. So we are up to $250,123 currently that we could allocate. The yearly going forward is, I would guess, around that $10,000 to $12,000 that we'll get continuously for the next 5 to 10 years, depending on when people pay or if they pay ahead. So we have some money to discuss on how to set it aside to or allocate it. The other thing is it doesn't have to be spent immediately. So, for example, if we said we want to do what was the one? The transport and helping families when they're at, make it look better, be on site or off site with their family. Say you put aside $10,000 or $20,000, it doesn't have to be spent right away. It could take a year, it could take 2 years, it could take however. Also, that could be refilled each year with the additional funding. The additional funding each year will probably just be done by the Health and Human Services Board. So it's kind of like establish the programs, then they'll redistribute the additional funds going forward. But that's where we sit, as $250,123.
Okay. Thank you. Let's go to number 5, medical centers. Let's see, 1225. We'll see if Laura McEwen did send in something. We could read hers, right? We'll wait for Dina. Dina's supposed to be on at 1225 from Aspirus. This is from Marshfield Medical Clinic, is Lori McEwen.
Okay, so I got this email from Lori McEwen. She had the opportunity to run reports from July 1, 2025 to July 1, 2026. The Marshfield Clinic, Park Falls, did not have any opioid overdoses present to the emergency department during this time frame. As I mentioned in our conversation, we see more patients using meth, also those with mental health concerns. Excuse me. I shared the approved usage of grant funds with our providers. They feel as though the money would be best spent on those folks in recovery that need food, housing, shelter, and job security. The folks in recovery do their best when they have stable housing and a stable income. Thank you again.
Okay, so that's Lori McEwen from Marshfield Medical Clinic. Dina, are you on yet? I don't see her. We can always come back to her. As soon as she comes on, Nick, let me know, if you would, please. Let's move on to the school districts, the opioid impacts on communities and areas of work. We have Jessica, I think you're on, right? Yes. Jessica, are you there? I see you.
Yes, I am here. I'm sorry. It took me a second to unmute.
Not a problem, not a problem. So what would you like to tell us about the impacts on your community and your areas of work?
I am new to this committee and I'm not necessarily directly aware of an opioid specific impact. I do know that there are drug use impacts that we see not only from a student side of things, but from a family side of things that carry over into the school district.
So I'm just wondering, I believe it was Rachel Hoffman from the Phillips School District. She's not here right now. Her conversation at that time was possibly providing trainings for your middle school and high school students. Is that something that you would think that would be beneficial to your school district?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So we'll take that as what we can put down and work from there. And let's see if we, and thank you for that. And Megan, is Megan online now?
No.
Nope, I don't see her. Not yet. Let's see.
I do have an email from Megan, if you'd like me
Okay,
to read that.
you want to read that one, please? Okay.
Okay. So Megan says the opioid crisis has affected many rural communities in Wisconsin, including areas served by the Prentice School District. While I may not personally know every family affected, I have observed opioid misuse can have a significant impact on our students, families, and the community. I have noticed our students may experience instability at home due to a parent's addiction, leading to increased stress, absenteeism, behavioral challenges, or difficulty concentrating in school. The committee can help address these issues by supporting prevention education, expanding access to mental health and substance use treatment, and connecting families with community resources. Providing students and families with counseling services and education about the risks of opioid misuse can encourage those in need to seek help.
Okay, so that's the Prentice School District. So Jessica, coming back to you, are you still there? I think you are. So you say you're new to the committee, and I understand that. So as we work through this as a committee, if there's anything that comes to mind with you or you discover later through your district or something, don't hesitate to share with us, because we'll just add that to our list. So sometimes when you hear somebody else talking, it might, jar something, go, oh yeah, we could use that or something. Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you.
You're welcome. So Dina is not on yet, is she at all? No. So let's move forward. And thank you all for your input. I'm sorry you're not able to be here in person, but we're really glad you can be there and send your emails as well. So let's move on. Those are the two school districts. We'll wait we won't just wait, but as soon as she comes on, if Dina's there, we can let her have her voice. Let's move to number 7, the discussion and recommendations of utilizing the opioid funding. This is the big one, Nick.
Yeah, so obviously over the last two meetings and now this one a little bit, we've talked about areas that might be program-esque that we could start putting funding towards. So I put together just a basic spreadsheet. The biggest thing, the hardest part of this whole process is going to be this column right here. So you guys received a packet saying, here's the eligible uses. So when we report to the state, we have to give them the eligible use under this packet so that if it ever gets audited, it complies with what the intent was. So I put some of the ideas that we had talked about in the list. Obviously, there can be more. You can add them. Let me know as we go through this. So today I want to get the programs and just kind of general idea on the board, right? So for example, we talked about, and I separated it out so it's not just one budget, but like for Park Falls School, Phillips School, Prentice School, Rachel had brought up the idea of making sure we educate middle schoolers, because that's where we start to see the usage, because that's the first time they're starting to be left alone, so that they may have the opportunity to experiment. So doing some type of assembly or multiple assemblies based on whatever the budget is, that's what this committee has to start to come up with and say, oh, that would cost, $2,000. I don't know what a speaker costs at a school. So if somebody online knows what it costs, but if you said, give each school $5,000, that might get them 2 speakers. That might get them 1 speaker. I don't know what a speaker, and it could be this year and next year or the next 3 years if they can find somebody, however that works. But that would be what we've talked about is towards the education. I did find that I would guess it would be under G9, which I think was like public education, or I can't remember what it was.
And you're taking that from the Schedule B. Everyone should
Yeah,
have.
you
in
guys should
theirs.
all have that in your packet.
I'm going to speak to that just for a minute for any of those programs in schools, because it's countywide and you have 3 schools in there. So many times, you could take that money, but you can also plan a speaker for the morning of the day in one school and, in the afternoon.
They can work together and do
Sure.
whatever, or they can also, I'm assuming
Bus them up to
there's grants out there that they can double up and get help with through the
Right.
state. So again, this is just throwing a budget out there saying, out of the current money, we want to see each school have the opportunity to do some speaker or a speaker or speakers, and we believe it would allocating $3,000 or $5,000 per school would meet that. I don't know. Does anybody know what it costs to bring a speaker to a school? And online?
It really just depends. $5,000 is probably a good budget because most of our speakers end up traveling a significant distance to get to us, and that's usually our hidden expense, is that embedded travel piece.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and that's what I didn't know. I know it. That is usually the cost that no one remembers is, oh, they're coming from Texas, so it's a plane ticket, it's a rental car, it's food, it's a hotel, and my speaking cost is $500, but my travel is $3,000. So, but yeah, again, all the schools can work together and have that same speaker for 2 days.
Sure.
and go through the schools. But is there a number we want to put? I mean, we just heard 5,000 gets you at least started. Any problems with, or want me to put 5?
That's a start.
All the money's gone. Thanks
know.
for coming, everybody.
Yeah.
And again, we don't have to go in order. If one of these, it's a program you want to see on here, let me know. I'll put who would probably oversee it, kind of thing. So like down here, I put like children and youth or the coalition, which can go a couple different ways depending on who oversees it. One thing that did come out of the Health and Human Services Board this morning was an interesting conversation about the lack of knowledge of the programs. And I'm paraphrasing it. There was a board member who said, hey, I believe I know somebody who may be struggling with opioids, but they don't know who to contact. They don't feel comfortable. Is there something we could put money towards to do that? And so Paul and I were talking in between meetings. I think a lot of it comes down to advertising, right? How do you get the word out saying, if you know somebody or what's the local contact to at least get started? So that is on here. And who knows what area that falls under, but that was one we added as we were discussing at the Health and Human Services Board meeting this morning. You see your program and you know what.
Can I jump in and?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So from public health standpoint and the coalition standpoint, I'm just gonna kind of bottle us together for a second. So Jojo and I, as she is co-chair of the coalition and me from public health, we went ahead and we looked at what we could use the money for. And broke it out that way because it was easier for us to be like, okay, you're going to allow this. What do we have that is already being used for that? What don't we have? What can help support some of that? So if we look at area E, for addressing the needs of pregnant or parenting women and their families, including babies with neonatal abstinence syndrome, from a public health standpoint, we would like to see assistance for funding for our prenatal care coordination nurse because she is working, that individual is working with numerous individuals that can, whether it's mental health as a result of substance use or substance use itself. So we would currently, our prenatal nurse is on the Hope Consortium perinatal work group. And there's also additional trainings that are offered that we would like to provide that. So we would like to request funding for that. And I have it broken out by years because I didn't know how specific it was going to be, because I know that some of the funding may be taken up initially right away, where this would be a sustainable thing, because as things continue on, information's always changing. We want our nurse to be educated throughout and not just immediately. So I'd like to request funding there. The next area we looked at was prevent misuse of opioids and broke it down by each of those areas. So looking at G1 and G2, that was talking about media campaigns and education based on evidence. Current efforts are some of the Real Talks campaign, the Dose of Reality, and Hidden in Plain Sight. Those are campaign materials that are already offered by DHS, but we could use, and the coalition could use funding to put those campaigns into practice. Looking at billboards, radio, newspaper, print, all of the above. So I kind of looked at that as an area as well as promotional and advertisement material, and also lump that with the drug take back, disposal, and education, because as it got brought up earlier of just not knowing where things are, we get calls all the time as to where do I take my meds to that I want to throw out and things like that. So to lump some of that in with that area as well. I can give you this whole printout, Nick. Additionally, G5 and G6 address community coalitions. We already have a substance use mental health coalition that was based upon the community's request some years back and continues to be as we do our community health assessment and community health improvement plan. They have areas in their strategic plan that address multiple areas. So for sustainability of the coalition to provide those strategies, we would be looking for funding for that as well. So I'd like to propose funding just for the Substance Use Mental Health Coalition to continue their objectives and has sustainability. Then looking at G8 and G9, there's school evidence-based prevention programs. Some of these include sources of strength, BOTFIN skills, and Catch My Breath programs, which are all evidence-based programs. Some of these are being implemented in a few of our schools. Some of our schools have not had the opportunity to implement them. The Catch My Breath program is a vaping prevention program. While it's not opioid specific, it is a gateway product. And that is something that we would like to consider funding for, to be able to have a public health nurse who is currently providing school nurse services to 2 of our schools, be able to get the training for that and provide that if the schools would be willing to accept that as a training program. So our request there is to implement the Catch My Breath program. Additionally, we are looking at G10 through 12, which would be supporting programs in education for substance use / mental health conditions. We are already trained in QPR and mental health first aid. We would like to utilize that certifications to implement some workshops. So I would be looking for support for that as well, to strengthen mental health support and resources for our youth. And that would be kind of the big parts for prevention for us. And then looking at the harm reduction portion itself, H1 through H5 talk about Narcan. We do have a nurse that has gone through the Narcan direct training, and while we do get the Narcan covered, there's the training itself, and there's supplies that go with it that we would be looking for funding for, and as well as education that we could be providing. Looking at further down in the H section with harm reduction supplies, which would be H9, would be the lock boxes, lock bags, and the deterra bags. While we currently have funding through that, or the coalition does through the SOAR grant, SOAR has a short timeline, so we'd be looking at potentially some additional funding to kind of cover about the 3 months that SOAR doesn't cover, and as well as with the increased cost for deterra bags. I do have an amount down for that for expanding harm reduction supplies. And that is currently what I'm going to be requesting money for. I can provide dollar amounts if needed.
Yeah.
So
Through the whole time or for
Well,
initial?
for initial. So what I did was I just put on our list that the Health Coalition, we'll add the list late for when we get it out for the next one, because we're not approving anything today. We're just
No.
starting to get this list together. And I did have some of those on there, like the lock boxes, the needle collection. So is there something or a number that would kind of get us towards all? Does anybody have a problem with any of the programming discussed?
I kind of just lump it. I know it was a lot. I'm sorry. But I was lumping it under prevention and harm reduction and the perinatal portion of it, because that is where the impact that we can provide. And our Substance Use Mental Health Coalition, they're really the experts. So I'm speaking on their behalf. JoJo's here with me, but I didn't just make it up. I met with our group, did a little bit of an assessment to see what's currently in place. We don't want to reinvent the wheel, but there's really things that we can be adding to.
And that's the
what we're looking
purpose
at.
of this money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So overall, I have it broken out into each, you know me, Nick, and my numbers. But if I would request money through 2038, I would be requesting $40,000 for public health, which would be 6% of the budget, and $100,000 for the Substance Use Mental Health Coalition through 2028, which would be 16% of the budget, all for prevention.
So, but a lot of that's like future dollars too.
Future dollars, and that's not initial.
Right. And
16,000 to start the coalition off with,
16 and plus what?
and $7,650 to start for public health.
So I would say, if we have it available, I would set aside above that so that if there's future years, that are lower or higher, but 30, 35, what do you want to start with as a group?
As a
I mean,
group,
If you don't get to talk anymore, you took all the money. I'm kidding.
35?
35, I heard. Okay. And that I'll work with Tiff kind of that long run lookout, because I think a lot of these other ones, I don't see when we get to like year 2, 3, 4, 5, if we're only getting 8,000 or 12,000,
Right.
I don't see us, the Health and Human Service Board going, let's give more to the school for speakers or whatever. That's where the tough part's going to be. So, yeah, I'll put this in writing for a future one to just kind of see what we're allocating in the future. We can work on that too.
Well, and especially that we know that there are still dollars coming in, that until that trickle down stops, we will just keep working with the list that we have.
I was trying to take that into consideration with what I just gave you there, Nick, knowing that some of the initial dollars would be spent right away. So I tried to push it out.
So instead of 35, based on this, if we want to say let's cover the first 2 years, so that at least gets you going. That's approximately 45, because it's 7,000, 8,000, 16, and 15. So if we cover the first two, then we can look at the future years, because it's a little less going forward.
Okay. No, thank you for bringing that.
No, that was,
that's what
you
the
did
wish
your
list is
homework.
about. You did it. Yeah. Yeah.
Who's next?
I spoke so much. I spoke for JoJo too.
Yeah, thanks, Jojo.
Well, if you all met, that's good, you know.
And I know so we were talking quite a bit about the drug scanning
Yeah.
screaming machine.
Streaming, huh?
Yeah. Scan.
All the way to take your R out of there and there you go.
Scanning machine. And that one I was trying to look through. I don't know if you found anything that it might fall under, but it might be like a diversion or a where you could kind of squeeze it in where it's like, oh, we pulled somebody over, we found them, we can immediately work with that individual or with the other departments to start a process. So that one I could see being a lot easier to fund than the scanner, but that one could also be safety and so we'll have to look through the list a little bit more on those two. I would set aside stuff for the drug screening machine, because I think that one we could squeeze in there a little easier than the other. So, and I know we talked about, was it 40? I think was what it was.
Yeah, it looks around there, huh? This on this list that you handed out before? Yeah.
Advertising, anything, His House of Hope, health, behavioral health, transportation or treatment, children and youth treatment, or what did I called it something else? Oh, treatment assistance. The other one I thought of too, well, the two units are talking over there. For like the healthcare providers, is there something that like there's training out there that you guys just don't get to go to because it's not necessarily cheap or available, where you'd learn about the addictions and prevention and not prescribing or being able to work with clients?
Not anything that I know of in particular that is directly to opioid. I could do a little researching on that, but
Can I bring up one more thing, not from a public health request, but just to be aware of? It had been mentioned at a recent meeting that we do have, well, we know we have a public health vending machine at Embrace. There was some concern about funding for temperature regulation of that machine. I don't know the cost. I'm guessing it was maybe about $2,000 a year or something, but maybe JoJo
Yeah.
can speak more to that.
Yeah, so I was approached at one of our coalition meetings at the end, and one of the lead Embrace individuals had or was discussing some concerns with temperature regulation for their public health vending machine. And again, like it's classified as a public health vending machine, but we don't have anything necessarily to do with it except for providing what resources public health can provide to that vending machine. But in their request, they said they're looking at potentially a burden financially to keep that vending machine regulated, and I believe it was roughly that $2,000. So I think that would be something to potentially consider, and I believe that's every year it would be $2,000. So
it wasn't to update the machine; it was like
No.
the cost of running the machine.
yeah,
We can look more into it as well. That was the sound of it. And that for those that aren't aware, the public health vending machine has harm reduction supplies and education for prevention in it.
Behavioral health and children and youth. What are you requesting? The rest, all right.
Um, I don't, so just like looking through this and running some numbers, like, for us for drug testing supplies, and it isn't just specific to opioid. I mean, a lot of meth addiction, but opioids are usually mixed in with all of that. I would say every time we order a batch of drug testing supplies, it's $625, and we go through, I would say 10 to 12 batches of those per year. And then now Chana is starting to use them as well, or
Correct.
just ordered some as well.
Mhm.
So like a rough estimate of like $7,500 for drug testing supplies. I checked quick on AODA assessments, and they're actually much more reasonable than I thought. So it was $185 for an AODA assessment. MA typically doesn't cover those, and we end up paying for those. So if we did 5 AODA assessments or supported someone, that was like $925. So maybe $1,000 towards AODA assessments. Follow up after that would be covered by insurance. And then, okay. Sean and I were chatting about, and this is kind of both of us, so she can
Right.
jump in as well. Like when we need people to go inpatient for AODA, we go to her and she helps us out. So, MA, she said, and she can explain this better, covers.
MA generally covers the service cost. They don't cover the room and board. And so the room and board cost can be anywhere from $90 to $135 a day. And then you multiply that by however many days they end up in treatment. Sometimes it's 28, sometimes it's 90. So, I mean, a 28-day stay would be typically on the high end would be close to 3,000 just for room and board.
But just to be able to help us out then, so if we asked for five people to go, and it was only 3,000, some of them be more, some of them will be less than like $15,000 to $20,000 for sending people. The treatment would be helpful. We just learned about, I just learned about the RIDE, the Talon Secure Transport. A lot of times people don't have rides, so it's social workers that are just kind of like, okay, we'll give you a ride after hours. And, people are high and kind of in rough shape. It's not always the safest, but for to us to arrange for transportation for them to go through the services that Chana is, again, more familiar with, that's about $2,000 for an hour and a half ride somewhere.
And that's just one ride.
Yeah. We'd be more apt to help pick them up when they're feeling better after the 30 days. Well, we'll do it if we have to. So if we help those same 5 people, that would be about $10,000. Some other things as I'm looking through this, I don't have numbers on, and these are just ideas if it gets spent in a different way, like we're all together on this. But as I was reading through some of this, I was thinking of like our TSSF program, and we have a lot of people that get out of treatment and then they have nowhere to go. So if we could help provide like a first month's rent or security deposit to someone, maybe after seeing that they were sober for a period of time, that would be helpful. I don't exactly have a number on that or how many. I haven't really thought about a number on that yet. But I can think of like 2 people right now that we're working with that are actually doing well and passing all of their drug tests, and they're kind of just living in between bad situations, which again puts them at risk of reusing. So we'd have to put some sort of system in place so that we were helping them to be successful. Getting jobs is tough. I don't have any ideas for how to help them because they have a record, and but it's difficult to help people be successful if they can't find employment or housing right after they come out of jail, prison, or recovery. So that's another idea. And then I guess I just wondered with the group, like with His House of Hope, is that something that we consider doing? I don't know. Like it's like they seem to have a great program there, honestly. I mean, I think the people that are staying there are pretty successful. And so I guess I was just wondering, in the past with Child Protective Services, like we have used, it would have been called Northwoods Living in Hope, which would be the female version of that program. I don't think that that's up and running right now. or they're working on getting it going again. But it was really helpful to have a place where the people that we served for drug addictions lived and had somebody checking on them all the time. Whether they were successful or not, it just seems to be a program that supports what we do and a lot of the people that we work with. So I was just wondering if that was actually something that we were considering helping with. And I wondered how we could utilize their treatment program as well. You know, like if they're really going to get integrated in how to like give people treatment through, I can't remember what he called it, Genesis. How could maybe we could jump in and use some of that as well locally. That's all I have.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's here to do just their own personally individual. I think the whole idea is to work together somehow. And if you have a program that's going to work here, like they seem to be pleased with that curriculum or what they're seeing from it, and it might be something that you might say, well, I think we could use that as well. So yeah, just like with the schools, try to figure out maybe, instead of everybody doing something individually, let's put it together so you can use more monies to spread that out. That's a good call. Nick, put another S on drug assessment there, please. It's driving me nuts. AODA, it's the teacher in me.
Here, I'll just do this.
ASSESS.
You missed trainings.
Thank you. Whew, I can relax now.
So as we were talking, I upped a few of the numbers Kayla was rattling off, but I did put those in there. The His House of Hope thing, it is in the acceptable spending. I believe he said the Genesis program was $10,000. So if that's something like cool, hopefully we can utilize it if you guys do the Genesis thing. Is there any other funding that we'd recommend to go to His House of Hope just as like a general keep the program going, or was specific to, I think he said asked security and vehicle. Or do you just give them program costs so they can offset program costs and put their own money towards security? And
I guess with His House of Hope, I look at how can we utilize His House of Hope. I believe probation doesn't approve of that as housing at this time, but again, I'm not 100% on that. So I don't know how we could get it to be that way, but that would be something.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder
it's a
if
good
it's
program.
Yeah, I wonder if it's like because of the security they don't, the ins and outs, or what probation would need to certify that.
So they don't approve, like they say you can't live there while you're on
I
probation?
know they've had several residents that weren't approved to stay there.
Okay.
I don't know why, but
Okay.
from previous investigations, we've learned that. But it could be a security issue. Not 100% sure. That'd be a question for probation.
I would also wonder if they're using the Genesis program. Are they only serving the people who actually live there? I guess I just have more questions about their program. Is it like an aftercare program? Would we be able to send people there for the Genesis group that aren't actually living there? I may get that that's probably a huge expansion on their part and they're just getting started as well.
Either way, I mean, it'll help those who are there at least, which we may or may not be some of the clients we see. So it still does assist. Like it would be nice, right? Like you said, it opens it up to potentially more if they would do that. Yeah. What about just general outreach and advertising? I know a lot of that's kind of in your program, but to go above and beyond, is there like a number we want to put on educating the community on access to the programming, whether it's a billboard or I don't know, radio, flyers? 5,000, 7,000, 2,000.
Well, I did with those specifically, I had put some of the examples for the those reality campaigns and all of that. But if you're looking at additional ones, we could add more onto, but I had just roughly put like $4,000 off to it. But I talked to Amanda before coming here, and it is probably about $500 to $600, I believe she said, a month in order to have a billboard. So if
Right.
we
They're
need
not,
to
they're
bump
not
that up.
cheap.
They're
so.
not.
And then that doesn't include the wrapping either, or whatever that they put on it, the vinyl or whatever.
Say we could put 5,000 towards additional advertising, whether it's the programs we're all doing here or if it's just outreach and education. Puts it towards it. Still have $84,000 of current funding. Not saying we have to spend it all today. Knowing that, I would also, based on the list that was provided from Health Human Services, the coalition, we may want to up this starting number. And if you look at the first 3 years, it's 21 plus 45. So you could do more in that 65, 70.
Yeah. It's quite a list. So it's, you know,
And I think there's a lot of overlapping too,
Mhm.
which is okay.
Yeah, I had seen the advertising and stuff.
Going back to, I mean, the schools, do you think more, same? His House of Hope, I have the Genesis portion, but do you do just general operations to make sure they can continue their mission?
What else do we have here?
I agree.
So
I mean, again, we could leave some in the
know,
fund
but
so that like your
I just meant
future
as far
stuff-
as not the money, but
Oh.
it's the facility. What other facility do we have here?
Right.
Oh,
That's what
right.
I meant. Sorry.
In good faith, I think it's just one of those that we want to see it succeed for everybody.
Well, and I would also say, like, what I've heard is there is the female version that's like but they're not connected. And I think that the reason they're not connected, this is just my speculation, is because the female version wasn't ran the same way and wasn't as successful. But we surely need some help for moms or with opioid addiction as well. I don't know how to put money towards that because I feel like they would actually have to have a program and like.
Yeah, and
And
I
if it's-
mean, we could allocate.
And if it's
funding.
potential that we can support the current funding for his House of Hope, and there's that potential down the line that they could expand, we could start here.
Yeah, the other thing I was going to say, you could just put a line item saying, what was it? It doesn't have to go directly to that one, but like a female version of his House of Hope, and allocate, like right now we put say 25,000 for his House of Hope, put 25,000 for a future, because again, you don't have to spend it today. You can just look at it, and if in 2 years it doesn't happen, you can reallocate it to something else, or the board can.
I think it was called Northwoods Living in Hope.
That's different.
Oh, it is?
That's a different church.
Oh, okay, that's
And
why.
that's also not treatment. It's for abuse and pregnant women, homeless women. Yep. They actually wouldn't even let you go to treatment. So I would not be able to support them through this grant.
Yeah. So that leaves us $19,000. And again, I don't necessarily think we need to allocate it all today. What I think this is a good start. What I'd propose we do is I'll take the in-depth list that I received from Tiff, and we'll update this, and then at the next meeting we can start to narrow it down. And if you think of another program or a program we discussed today and have a better number or a different thought, like I was just plugging in numbers, but if the school comes forward and go, hey, we looked into it and a speaker's $3,000. If you give us 6, we can do it a couple years, working together. And again, if they all work together and have the same speaker, you only have to pay for travel once, or, they can work together. But those are the type of things, if in the next I think I don't know when our next meeting is, but in the next month, start, narrowing down some of the thoughts you've had. You now see the bar has been set by the coalition and health department in a good way. But that'll help so that when we present to the Health and Human Services Board, we can have a narrowed down list.
But
Well, I like-
also,
go ahead.
I'm sorry. One thing I'd like to just toss out there to the school districts is just a thought under the prevent misuse of opioids. When we're looking at school evidence-based prevention programs, and we're looking at mental health support, I know that you guys are working with sources of strength. So just maybe considering if you have enough funding for sources of strength activities, because that's helping build resiliency for those youth. Thank you.
I was just saying, I think I just like seeing the spreadsheet. I like seeing numbers on here. And like you said, things can be moved around. There's been no vote or anything yet. So, but I think it's just good to see some of those numbers.
Yeah, and we'll work on it.
Yeah.
Narrowing it down.
Can you send me a copy of that when you get it together?
The one that I thought of too that we haven't talked about, the drug court, I don't know where that would come out of, and I don't know what that looks like or costs.
Turn your microphone on, please. Thank you.
So with Forest County's Wellness Court, their current funding through a grant is 400,000, and need to keep the program running is $300,072,295. So it's
So all the money plus some. Don't see that one. So it's a matching for the most part. So it's about $800,000 if you can get the grant. Never
I
mind.
believe they also received money from the tribes as well.
I think that's how I've heard that too. Yeah.
And there is different wellness courts out there. This was just our closest one.
Are we at that point where we're just gonna,
Unless there's more, I'll work with
okay?
those who've got programs on here just to clarify, and maybe we'll define them a little bit more too
Mhm.
before the next meeting.
Did you have comments you wanted to add? Okay. Just that sidebar. Okay, so anybody else have something else to say? I mean, if we're at that point where we're kind of at a standstill right now.
Got plenty of work to do.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So if you don't mind, I'll move on to 8, which is our next meeting, which is August 12th, 2026. So also, just so you know, our regular scheduled Health and Human Services Board meeting will not be in the morning that day. It'll be at 4:00 in the afternoon. It's the public participation, so we'll have our regular meeting at 4:00, and then the public participation will be at 5:00. And typically speaking, that takes about 3 minutes. So nobody shows.
Yeah, don't.
Oh, well, I know. You know darn well somebody will be here. Anyway, so August 12th, agenda items for next time is to finalize the opioid funding recommendations. That's what we will go with. Go back, do your numbers a little bit more.
We have 2 meetings to finalize it. So
Well,
next
right.
one we'll get a good list, and then we'll sleep on it, and then we can get it finalized.
So maybe someone can contact Mark Diston, and he's the board of directors on the board of directors from his House of Hope. If those are questions you wanted to talk about to make some differences there, maybe somebody can contact the other women's facility if that's going on. I don't know. And if that's not anything, I mean, if they're not here to say anything, then maybe they'll be on the next stretch.
Is that Hallie's House of Hope?
I would think it's Hallie's, yeah. So if not anything else, Going once?
We'll connect with Embrace too, just to
There you go.
confirm
Oh,
that.
that's
Good one
cost.
too.
Yep.
Yep. Anything else? All right, well, then I'm going to adjourn the meeting. Thank you all for